Hello, happy pot lovers. People have asked me how I make the little fish sponge holder, so let me show you. I'm going to take a batt that I can leave it on and remove it from the wheel. And I have got, there's about 2.5 pounds of broom from Kentucky Mud Works. Damp. And I'm going to cut a little bit of this off. And it was in a bag with some fool's gold, and that's what that yellow is. I'm going to set this aside for later because this is going to be the fins and so forth. So we're left with probably somewhere around 2 pounds-ish. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up to the batt. I'm going to throw this with its mouth down on the batt. So I'm going to throw a closed form, but it's not going to have a bottom. And you don't have to make it a fish. As a matter of fact, one of these that I'm going to make is going to be a frog. So the one that I made that I sent to Nat at Mud Magic, I had made it out of Laguna Frost porcelain, and she put a candle in it, and it was translucent, which was really cool. I was tickled to death when she sent me that video. One of the greatest joys of being a potter is when somebody sends you a picture or a note or something saying how they use your piece and what kind of pleasure they get out of it. So if you've bought my pottery in the past, or if you bought anybody's pottery and you really enjoy using it and it's something special to you, let them know. All right, there's the batt. Let's bring it out. Way to uncenter it there, girlfriend. Sorry. It'll be fine. Isn't that what Maya says, Mia? It's fine. It'll be fine. All right, now I'm gonna, and I did leave a little bit. I've got about that much at the bottom because I want it to stay anchored. So we can trim it later. So let's start bringing this up. You want this big enough if you're going to use it for a sponge holder or something like that. You want it big enough that you can get a sponge in there. So make it plenty wide. But don't let this part up here get wide. Uh-oh, we're losing it. Stay stuck, baby. Okay, bring this in. Now, before I start closing in here, I'm going to get some of this moisture out of the middle, because I don't want to trap that water in there. So I'm kind of cleaning the batt off. Now I'm going to bring this in some. Okay. And bring the wall up some more. Working it towards the middle. Oops, I feel it coming off the batt. Keep that down pressure on it. And I may have to redo this. Let me see if I can seal it down to the batt down here. Your best bet when you do this is to leave the skirt on the outside, and you can, once you get it thrown and closed in, you can cut the skirt off. I got a little bit too ambitious with it. And these batts don't stick quite as well as the other ones that I have. Okay. Mostly down here, I'm feeling to make sure that wall is pretty even, which it is. So now let's start closing it in. And I'm going to get the outside wet. Start collaring in. Keep my fingers on the top to help that rim stabilize. Get that little bit of water out of here. Do a pull, pulling towards the inside. Keep the wall even. right. On the outside, do a pull. If you feel like you're, like right now I'm getting a little bit uneven, which is not at all unusual when you're collaring in like this, so I'm just gonna get some of this off of here, get it back to even. I'm not using a lot of water because I don't want that water on the inside too much, but I'm just wetting the inside enough that I can bring this in. My fingers slide on the inside and don't create too much friction. All right, let's collar back in here. And remember, a fish tapers, so it's got a wide part up here and then it gets skinny at the tail. All right. I'm just using the slip that's on my hands for lubrication. Unless I feel it starting to stick, I'm not going to get any more water because I don't want to oversaturate the clay or the closed form. It's going to take a little while to dry out. Almost there. Okay, get just a little more water on my hands. I suppose you don't have to close it all the way up because you are going to attach things back here, but it's a lot easier to attach them if you are all the way closed up and have a solid surface to attach to, and we're just about there. All right, that is it on the closing. Now, clean my hands off again. And I'm going to grab my metal rib of death. And we're going to come on here and shape this thing. Now that it's closed up, you can shape it pretty easily to whatever shape you want. I'm also getting the slip off. And I take my slip and my slop and my trimmings when I trim the top off of something, and I put them in a little bucket here. And then I let them dry out for a day or two, and I wedge them up and I use them for things. I built a kiln guardian out of my slop, and a lot of times it ends up being marbled. Now, I don't want this at a total point because I want something that's going to be easy to attach stuff to. So I will flatten it out just a little bit here. And this is going to dry overnight, but I don't want it quite leather hard. I want it like leather soft. I don't want it sticky, but I want it malleable because I'm going to flatten out one side. I'm going to form the mouth. I'm going to push out eyeballs. All right, and let's clean this up. And I'm going to take my wooden knife and clean this up a little bit. All right, that is it until tomorrow, folks. Okay, hi again, happy pot lovers. We're back. It is the next night. It's not really leather hard. It's kind of leather. And I'm going to trim it just a little bit while I've got it on here. Let's see. Yeah, we're still centered. So I'm going to take my pear tool and just trim this and get rid of some of the little undulations in here. Not that it really matters. And you can see the clay that's coming off is it's wet. Anyway, I'm just getting rid of some of these ridges that are in here from throwing it last night. And I know I said I was going to make a goldfish out of this one, or a fish out of this one, but I'm actually going to make a fish out of another one that I threw with the fool's gold clay. And this one I'm going to make into a frog. So, but you get a twofer. All right, come off of there. All right, while we still have this sealed, and we can manipulate it, I'm going to take my metal rib of death and clean it off. I want to make sure it's totally clean. So I have my metal rib of death, and I'm going to smooth this. I'm also going to, because I'm making this one into a frog, I'm going to reshape its butt a little bit. And if you're going to get a crack, this is most likely where you're going to get it, is right in here where you closed it up. So it does not hurt to work that extra. And I'm using this to kind of burnish, polish. Alrighty. Now, cut it off the peel. And I'm going to pick this baby up. And you can see that we're kind of thick in here, and that's okay. We left this extra to keep it anchored onto the wheel. And you can also see that it's pretty wet up in there, and we can smooth that out where it was closed up. You can use your finger, you can use your wooden knife. Get it a little damp and just smooth that out in there. Or you can use anything you want. You can use a rib. Alright, and I think I'm going to take a rib. This one. I think I'll take this yellow one here. And I'm just going to smooth the inside. So while I have the chance, get rid of some of those throwing lines. Okay. Now, we want our frog to sit up like this. So let me first get rid of this other batt. Put the new batt on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide how I want his mouth to be, where I want the flat spot to be, which I think I want it up like this. So I'm going to plop it down and make a flat spot. Now I did get a little bit of saggage going on back here, so I'm just going to take my hands and push that back out. And now I'm going to take all of this extra clay and start working it. And decide how I want his mouth to be. And I'm going to work this down like this. And I want the corner of his mouth to be up like that. And we're going to start making a mouth. We're just using that extra clay to our advantage. It's kind of like making a pinch pot, except you threw half of it. So I'm working this out and getting it to the same thickness as the rest of my pot, and I'm using that to make a mouth. And if you want to, you can pick it up and hold it in your hand while you do this. And you can reshape all of this. You can even cut some of this off if you want to. I like to just go ahead and use it. All right. And I might actually pinch some of this off right here. And we'll pinch some of this off right here. Work that clay back in. Work it together. You want a nice big enough opening that after this shrinks, it is still going to hold a sponge or whatever it is that you want to put in here. And frogs have bulgy eyes, so what we're going to do is go up here and bulge out a couple of eyeballs. And if it pops through, just take a little extra clay, put it on there. We'll work that in. Not a big deal. That is the beauty of working with it at this stage. Now the hard part is that you got to get this thing to hold its shape. So we're going to have to stick something in him to hold his mouth open. You can take a ball stylus and stick it up in here and get the same shape on each of them. And this eye needs to go back a little bit. There we go. That's a little better. And if it starts to crack, you just rub it smooth. Put a little water on it if you want. Put a little more clay on top if it feels like it's getting thin. And frogs generally have a ridge that runs down their body on either side. So we're going to do that. And we're just getting rough shapes here. Right, let's prop that up right there. And let's prop this up. Right there. And we're just going to let him stiffen up some. Okay. Come up off of there. There we go. And you can have his mouth crooked, or centered like that. Okay, when he gets a little bit further, we'll come in and smooth out all this stuff. Get rid of all of our squeezy marks. Okie doke. And on this one, I think I'm going to cut away just a little bit of this thicker stuff. It's still got a good thickness in here. It's about twice as thick right here as it is down here. So it gives me room to squeeze it into where I want it. But right now, that can go in there. And take my little wooden plastic rubber rib. And let's smooth this out in here again. Now he needs some gills. So there's a number of ways you can do that, but this is a pretty good size for that. There's some gills. Do the same thing on this side. And I'll just turn him on his back real quick. And go. And we'll let that set up, and then we'll clean it up later. And then for his scales, what I did is I took this little tool here and I just started and you can see how that's making the scale pattern. So you just offset it. And you don't need to watch me do this whole thing in scales. So I will pause you and come back when I'm done. Okay, I am back. And as you can see, I have put all of the scales on this little guy. And I'm just going to go and smooth down a couple of these that popped up like that. Most of this smoothing will be done later with a sponge. Smooth his eye out a little bit. Let's see if we can't bulge this the right way. There we go, that's a little better. Okay, so that's what we've got. Now, you need some pickies. So here's some clay that I saved. Here's the clay we pulled off of him. And I am using these little petal molds. And I will put a link to these down in the description if they are silicone molds. So I'm going to take a piece of clay. This is a little softer over here. And you don't want it too soft, but you want it soft enough that it's malleable. And you want to build this on something that you can leave it on, because when this gets bone dry, it is very brittle and very delicate. Now, if your clay is cracking a little bit like this, just take a little bit of water and work it in there, because you don't want to develop cracks in these. So I'm going to get this about the shape that I want it. And I'm going to put it on here. And I'm going to press more on the edges than in the middle, but I'm pressing to get the basic outline of it. So you can see now I've got some beautiful fancy fins, and I'm going to cut this one right along here. And we now have a dorsal fin. So I'm going to put that right up on his back. And let me get my vinegar. My needle tool. And I'm going to score this right here. Score this here. Need more vinegar. And let's give it another score, score, score. Get this goopies off of here, good goopies. And so I want this swept up part going towards the back. Wiggle, wiggle. Take a piece of this. I'm going to roll a very thin coil. Some vinegar on that. And we'll come back later with a brush after this gets a little bit stiffer and just clean that up. All right. Turn this around. And we'll put a little bit of coil on the other side. Now, take the paintbrush and just smooth that in a little bit. Smooth it in on this side. And give this fin a little bit of movement. Okie dokie. Now we're going to go with the tail. And I'm going to moisten this up just a little bit so we don't get cracking. Squeeze it down. Pull out the outside. Round that off. I'm just rubbing this smooth, getting rid of any splits or rough spots. All right. Now we're going to scuff up his butt really good. And let me show you what I'm doing here. I am scoring the bejesus out of this. And get some vinegar in there. Get some vinegar on here. Give it a score, score, score. And then it's going to go off to the side like this. Get it in there pretty good. Now let's make it, well, let's get that attached. Work it in there. Okay. Get another one. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. I don't like that. See how it cracked? Let's put some more water in here. Work it in. Get just a little bit more clay here. Just a little bit. More water. And I want to make sure that both of my molds are pointed the same way. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. All right. Let's get some of this excess off of here. And score, score, score. We're pretty scored up over here. Little vinegar on there, a little more vinegar on there. And stick it in there. Okay. Take this and work it in. And now, 2 more times. And these are a little bit lighter and thinner. Not much, because you want them to be sturdy enough that they're not going to just break off after they're fired. But you also want them to be fairly delicate looking. So you leave them kind of thicker in the middle and thin them out some on the edges, leaving it thicker down here at the base. Yeah, that's the base. Okie doke. Now with this one, we're going to put it like this. Let's score, score, score. And score it down here some. And we're going to score down here some. And we're going to take this and work it in right here. Work it in over here. Right. What? All right. Okay, there's our pretty tail. Now let's put some fins on his side. We're done with these. And we need these. So we'll take some smaller pieces. And we're going to do 2 on each side. Make sure it's plenty pliable. And we want kind of a shape of our mold here. And this will go right behind his gills. Yep, that's about right. Okay. I think I like that for the outside. It's got just a little more texture. Well, I don't know. That's kind of cool too. All right. We'll do this on the inside. And let's take this. Soaky, soaky. Soaky, soaky over here. Soaky, soaky right here. Make another one. Roll it in a ball. Squish it down some. That looks much better. Kind of a teardrop shape again. Don't crack, baby. Come on, you can do it. This is a little bit smaller teardrop shape this time. Not much, just a little. Smushy, smushy. smooth out the ends. And you know, if he gets a little split in it, it's okay, because fish have, just like people have little scars and so forth, so do fish. All right. Which side do we like better? That was the side we put out before, so let's put this side out this time. And we're going to score, score, score. And score, score, score. And this is going to go over top of his fin and a little bit forward of it. Soaky, soaky. And give it a little wiggle, wiggle. Now let's give these some character. Work them in. And we'll go to the other side. These are super delicate until they are glaze fired. So you have to be really careful with where you put them, how you handle them, until they've at least been bisqued. And even then, they can be pretty delicate. All right, let's get these other two fins on. And you can use this offense thing. You see this little insert for my shoulder. Just gonna make sure I don't hang things. Okay. All right. Let's get 3 step on. On here. All right, and let's just push this back in here and use it to set him. And that gives us our texture back. And we can do the same thing with this side. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot. We got to do the eyes. Okay. And I'm going to get a pretty dry sponge. And I'm going to smooth off his eyes here. And get them rounded. Fix where I poked them when I was doing the scales. And I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to decide where his eyeball is going to be. And I'm going to make a circle. And then I have to come back and get where the get off of there, bugger. Okay. and I'm just going to wiggle it a little bit and define that. All right. Now I'm going to go to this side, and I'm going to say, okay, that looks fairly even. Wiggle it around some to make that space, and then complete the circle. And then I'll take this one, which is smaller, and go right in here, like that, and make a circle there. Come back here and do it just about the same. So I want to go right in here, do a half circle, complete the circle there. And now he's got eyes. Hey guys, one thing I forgot to do that I did on the other ones, and when I looked back at my other fishies, I decided that it really added something to them. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I did. I took the little petal and I need 2 lumps of clay, I think. Let's see. This might be big enough just like that. Alright. Alright, let's get this in about the right shape. Put it in here. Give it a squeeze. Get off the excess. That was good imprint there. All right. Score, score, score. Score, score, score. A little more score, score. Take my wooden finger in here and press it in. That just gives it that little extra flair. Yeah, that's plenty soft. Don't need that much. There we go. Alrighty. Squishy, squishy. Alright, let's turn you around. Without knocking the vinegar in over. And let's score, 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 score. Which side do I want up? Let's go with that side. Okay. Work it in there. Come on, go in. Alright, I think Mr. Frog has stiffened up enough that I can work with him now, but I'm going to define this ridge along his back a little more. Let's smooth his eyes out some. Okay, let's give him some legs. And I'm going to move this over to the side just a little bit. Alright, I want, let's take some off of here and add some to here. See if we can't get two pieces that are pretty much equal here. Those look pretty well even. Okay. Okay. And I've never made a frog before, so I'm kind of guessing at this. Alright, those look fairly even. Okay. So, what we need is Can you see what I'm doing? Am I out of frame? All right. Right. Right about there. And we have to split this way. Right? Yeah. Let's get this in place and get this rounded out here. And he needs to be right about there. Sorry, I want you to be able to see, I gotta be able to do it. So. Just move it up. There it goes. Smooth this out. Turn this a little bit like this. All right, now we need some front legs. Put this back in the bag. So, I'm gonna need that more. This one might be just a little bit thicker than the other one. Pinch off a little bit of that. All right, thin it down here. Well, that's stupid. Make them 2 right feet. I guess that's better than 2 left feet. Okay. Let's fix the cracks. Let's make these a little shorter and fatter. Okay, let's put this one on right there. Round these toes off. Frogs don't have pointy toes. They have suctiony toes. Even. I'm gonna call him good for tonight, I think. Once we put some eyes on him. Frog eyes look to the side, if I'm not mistaken. Okie doke.